Hey guys, welcome. Today's episode is going to be about how to quit Kratom. There's quite a few different strategies. I just dropped my $100 trillion in Zimbabwe money on the ground. So if anyone just likes me for the money, that's only worth, $17? First, I'm going to talk about how I did it. When I decided to quit, I was about 4 years into using, and it wasn't easy. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't the easiest thing in the world, but that doesn't mean that it was impossible, because I did it, and so can you. It's one of those things where no matter how you do it, you're going to have to rip off the Band-Aid. Now, this Band-Aid can be ripped off slowly with less pain, or it can be ripped off all at once and there will be a bit more pain. Quitting is a psychological minefield. From personal experience, I can testify that the fear, the uncertainty, the willingness to postpone it and say tomorrow's a better day are all overpowering. So how do we overcome those things? I overcame them by thinking about how my life was better without Kratom in it. So when we decide to quit, we think about why we're doing it. The reason that I did it is because I was sick and tired of being constipated, secretive, waking up and needing to take something to make me feel like I was okay, broke from all of the money that I spent on Kratom, a little bit dissatisfied with the fact that I would have to just run into a bathroom at my 9 to 5 in an office building with lots of people saying, why is he going into the bathroom so often? One of my biggest reasons for quitting is I felt like Kratom was muting my life experience. I felt like I wasn't experiencing everything that life had to offer. And if what you believe is that we're only given one shot here, some people believe that you're given thousands of shots. Some people believe that you're given another shot. If you believe that you're only given one shot, you want to make sure that you are getting everything that you possibly can out of this life. And I didn't feel that with Kratom that I was getting everything that life had to offer. I felt like I was being spoon-fed this kind of monotonous sameness by this drug that compelled me to stay inside because I'd lost kind of my intrinsic motivation to be a better person because Kratom was doing it all for me. So that's one of the trickiest things about Kratom is that we turn to it to give us a better life and to take away, let's be honest, to take away a little bit of the toughness that can come with living on planet Earth here, because sometimes it's not great. We got, like bird poop, taxes, governments, anger. There's plenty more where that came from. So Kratom is a method to put a damper on all of that. But the tricky part comes when you realize that you are no longer motivated to make yourself better on your own terms without Kratom helping you do that. One of the things that made me uncomfortable about using, and one of the things that I continued to use as willpower for me when I started to quit, which is one of the reasons that I was successful, is that I felt like Kratom was taking away from my authentic experience of life. So I personally am a guy that loves nature, and I love music. I love playing it, I love singing it, I love experiencing it, and in terms of nature, I love experiencing it, I love being in it, I love being around it, on top of it, underneath it, less so, because something about confined spaces, caves, mine shafts, caverns, not so appealing to me, but I'll leave that up to you. And with Kratom, it put this haze over everything, and unless you've taken it and you've been on it for a long time, it's a very difficult feeling to describe. It's like there's this sheen over everything. So I here, for example, go out into nature to find peace of mind, serenity, connectedness, and solace, for example. When I'm on Kratom, I don't get those things I get the feeling of being on Kratom, which takes away and impinges upon everything that I experience. So the first step to quitting for me was taking stock of every single thing that I thought that Kratom was taking away from me. I felt like it was taking away from my independence. I felt like it was taking away from my ability to feel like I was living life on life's terms. I felt like it was taking away from my ability to be confident in who I was, what I was capable of without the help of Kratom. I absolutely despised everything that had to do with the bowel movement during that period of my life. I didn't enjoy at all the money that I was spending. So the first step in quitting is figuring out every single thing that you don't like about Kratom and everything that it's doing for you. The second step is figuring out how to do it. So this is the hard one because your brain is gonna act like the spoiled monkey and say, well, maybe you just shouldn't do it. So get over that you just shouldn't do it and say, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And change I'm going to do it to I'm doing it. Changing that act to that active tense is super helpful because it stops giving you an out. So the first step is figuring out how you're going to do it. So I'm going to keep referencing this because I wrote this to compile all the strategies and all the tips and the tricks. So first, you have a choice to make. Depending on how much you've used, you can choose to go cold turkey or you can choose to taper. So depending on how much you've used and how long you've been using it for, there's a good chance that you will experience a bit of discomfort no matter which method you choose, and this is nothing to be afraid of. It's so easy to psych yourself out and say, I'm afraid of the pain, I'm afraid of what's to come, I don't want any withdrawals, so I'm just going to keep using and carry on. But what you have to do is you have to trick your brain. Everything that's in there is essentially working against you to accomplish your mission. You are on a mission, you are going to complete that mission, and in the end, you are going to be extremely successful like me, and you're going to have $100 trillion in Zimbabwean money. So you have to essentially recognize that your brain and the thoughts that you have about continuing using are not your thoughts. You want to quit. You're quitting. So don't listen to your brain. When you decide between cold turkey or tapering, you have to be extremely disciplined. So what really helped me with this, and the reason that I was successful at all, was taking stock of all of the things that were coming back into my life the longer that I stopped using. So one thing that helped me was my connection to music. So I, in here, have a whole chapter on music, or at least a large part of a chapter dedicated to it. And you see these reports of all of these people, myself included, that are feeling music again. They're experiencing it in a way that they haven't before. So when I was on Kratom, and this is the case for many other people, comment if you can relate to this, music did not sound like it used to sound. It was just something you'd throw on and passively listen to, and all of these artists and sounds and emotions that I'd loved and experienced in the past just kind of fell flat. But when I started quitting, it was like it came alive again. Music was a completely different animal, and I just loved it. So one of the other most freeing things about quitting was I'd wake up one day and say, wait a second, I am free. I don't have to take anything at all to feel okay. I can just feel okay. Now, this might take a couple weeks for you. Once you get through the physical part of your withdrawals, this might take, a month or two psychologically. But what it demands is that you are attentive and unrelenting in your quest to be a better version of you and be just forgiving and understanding of yourself, and that you are not in the wrong. Everything is okay, regardless of the situation. You just have to say everything is okay. So I was using about 30 plus grams of powdered Kratom a day, and it's almost impossible to come to terms with the fact that you've been consuming that much until it just hits you in the face. You're like, wow, how did that happen? And it really does catch you off guard. So because I was using this much, I knew that it wasn't going to be an easy road out of here. So I used a mix of strategies. Strategy number 1 was tapering, and strategy number 2 was tapering for sleep. So I would take some right before bed so that I could sleep, because sleep is so sacred when you're quitting. You need to give your body every opportunity to heal. And the other strategy that I'd use was taking Kratom later and later on into the day and just pushing it as close to that nighttime dose as I could. So a basic philosophy that I used was the longer you feel uncomfortable, the more that you're healing. So when you're going through withdrawals, what you have to say to yourself is, I'm healing here. This is amazing. This is good. My brain is learning how to recover all of its natural methods for keeping me stable and maintaining homeostasis. Because if we know anything about addiction and recovery, and as it applies to Kratom and taking it for long periods of time, it's that the reward system in your brain is consistently being flooded with dopamine. And Kratom is very good at releasing a ton of dopamine into your system. So what happens in your brain is it has to accommodate for all of this dopamine being flooded in, and your brain is going, whoa, where is all this coming from? So the number of receptors in your brain gradually begin to diminish. So there's a study that I cited in my book, and it talks about how in certain cases for opioid withdrawals, which, Kratom is different, but the longer you're off of it, the more potential there is for your brain to recover these receptors. So that's so promising, because scientifically we know that the longer that we're off of Kratom, the better it's going to get. And it's backed by science. So that's something you have to keep in mind. So we're going to cover 2 other things here. The first is, what are you supposed to do when your brain is asking you for more Kratom? What I would do is I would pump myself up like some just strung out MMA fighter and just tell myself, no frickin' way. You're not going to the head shop. You're not getting any more. You're doing this for your own good. You're not doing it. Another thing that you can do is treat your brain that's asking for more Kratom like a toddler. And when the toddler's like, I want more, you have to say no. No. Another thing is, every single time that the urge comes up and you feel yourself about to leave the house to go and pick up some more, do something else. Go on a walk. Go watch a movie. Do anything to take your mind off of using. So this gets easier and easier as the week turns into 2 weeks, and 2 weeks turned into 3 weeks, and now I don't think about it at all. I maybe think about it once a month, and it's just like, Kratom. No, thank you. And it's so crazy, because when I was quitting, every single minute my brain was like, go take some. You want to go take some. Sounds like a great idea, right? Oh yeah, you should go and do that. Now it's non-existent. So I can tell that I've recovered in a way that's so measurable, just based off of the consistency of the craving thoughts that I have. So the other thing that we want to talk about are things that you can use, so be it supplements or exercise or anything else, to distract yourself from the cravings and make them more manageable. So this includes withdrawals. What makes the withdrawals more manageable? So I outline all this here, but one of the things that helped me was black seed oil. One of the things that helped me was magnesium. One of the things that helped me was drinking just a boatload of water, just bathtubs of it. One of the things that helped me was vitamin C. Exercise, I can't say it enough, is one of the best things in the entire world. So I've got 2 bad knees, unfortunately, but they're always, if you're struggling with, arthritis or whatever, there's always a method for you. There's always some sort of exercise that you can get out on your feet. But the hardest part is leaving your front door. But exercise is natural Kratom. It's amazing. So what that does for your reward system, it's a natural high, and it's an amazing replacement for the feeling that Kratom gave you. So I am going to close off this video by saying that the most important part of how to quit is just to say you have to do it. You have to do it. And sitting here and watching this video, there's probably a piece of you going like, oh man, I don't want to do it. It's gonna suck and this and that. You have to get those thoughts out of your brain. That brain of yours is gonna keep you trapped, and you're gonna be a servant to it for as long as you allow it to. So any of the thoughts that you have, like, oh man, this is going to be so hard, my life sucks, you have to dig so deep inside of yourself and say, that is not the person that I am. I'm stronger than that. I'm better than that. I'm faster than that. I'm cooler than that. I'm wickeder than that. I'm gnarlier than that. And you have to power through it and just be your own champion. Thank you for joining me. As always, I have been Nolan. If you'd like to pick up my book on how to quit, you're more than welcome to do so. It's on Amazon. And thank you so much for joining.